All right, let's move on to Tickety-Boo News. So we here at the Daily Wire, who made this montage, Rob? Did you make this?
The editors put together.
Okay. We hear Robert Sterling, our producer, working behind the scenes with a massive crew. We put together this montage because what I wanted to show you is that creating crisis during a Republican presidency is what the media is about. The idea is to make you feel that we are in a crisis when we are not. Right this minute, we are not in a crisis. There are lots of dangerous things happening in the world. There are lots of things happening in the world that I don't particularly like. But the idea that somehow the government is falling apart and Donald Trump is so outlandish that, we cannot possibly stand this another day is taking place in the imagination of the media, and their job is to draw you into their imagination. So we put together this montage of people basically covering, it's like, here I am, I'm a reporter covering the inside of my own head. So I just wanted to show you people imagining the crises, because this is only from the last week, right? I mean, this is just stuff I collected over the last week, just peddling to you the crisis that's in their heads.
I saw the scary face of John Bolton behind the president. Then I saw him in the next scene sitting next to him today. And what kind of advice you get from Bolton? Attack.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Would any of us put it past President Trump to decide that a nice little military adventure in Syria might be a nice distraction from this?
I mean, okay, how about wag the dog, Susan?
Well,
I was at Barry Levinson last week. I've been reminded he's the director of that film where a president in fiction decided to start a little war to cover up for a hanky-panky.
The challenge is stiffer than any we faced in my lifetime. I remember the early 70s when President Richard Nixon was authorizing burglaries and firebombing and break-ins and all of that, and we survived that. But this is something different.
Let's say that Donald Trump decides he doesn't want to give an interview with Mueller, but Mueller says, oh, but you will. And he's subpoenaed to interview Robert Mueller. And Donald Trump simply says, I don't recognize that subpoena.
Normally, a person who refuses to testify before a grand jury winds up being incarcerated for the time period of the grand jury, which can be up to 18 months. So one way to enforce it is to have Donald Trump taken by the federal marshals and put in federal prison until he testifies.
We're in a constitutional crisis. The President of the United States has made clear to those around him, those who are closest to him in the White House and among his friends, that he is determined to shut down this investigation. And the moment he has chosen to actually act on it, apparently, is when the special prosecutor and other prosecutors have gotten hold of his lawyers' computers, which have perhaps evidence of real conspiracy between the President of the United States and others.
Why is former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright warning that President Trump could turn America into a fascist country?
Having to live in perhaps a country that is, that's in decline. And the face of that declension is a B-list reality.
I'm just glad I don't live in their heads. That's all. But thank you for this little tour of your putrid imaginations. It's been great visiting. And now I'm going to return to America where things are actually going pretty well. I just love it. Listen, I feel bad for them, but don't let them sell you their vision. Owen Benjamin, the comedian who has been under fire for his openly right-wing views, will be in the studio with us, right, tomorrow. Don't miss it. I'm Andrew Klavan. This is The Andrew Klavan Show. The Andrew Klavan Show is produced by Robert Sterling. Executive producer, Jeremy Boring. Senior producer, Jonathan Hay. Our supervising producer is Mathis Glover. Technical producer, Austin Stevens. Edited by Alex Zingaro. Audio is mixed by Mike Cormina. Hair and makeup is by Jesua Alvera. And our animations are by Cynthia Angulo and Jacob Jackson. The Andrew Klavan Show is a Daily Wire Forward Publishing production. Copyright Forward Publishing 2018.